epic rap battles of history. Steven Spielberg versus Alfred Hitchcock, bitch!
Picture a child sitting next to a projector, learning from your films to become a much better director. Now picture a $3 billion dream machine who can blockbuster all over your crop just to see. Try to duel with me, Alfred, you must be psycho. I'll bring back Jaws and take a bite of your lifeboat. I'm always so on top of my game, I get the vertigo. My jet's in the terminal, waiting for me to murder ya. I rock the Academy and the DGA. You rock as many Oscars as that slap Michael Bay. Time you're filling up those jowls with 3 steaks and souffle. Check the trade, see me amble to my next big play. I produce cartoons and make games for all ages. You produce Jimmy Stewart making one of 2 faces. Maybe next time I visit you'll be a bit more gracious. Now kiss my full moon and just bask in my greatness.
That was a close encounter of the turd kind. But there won't be a pretty ending this time. Half your billion should go to John Williams. Now brace yourself as I reveal my brilliance. I'm the master of suspense so intense, no defense against Hitchcock once he presents. My skill is enormous, orchestrate brilliant performance. You're more horrible than Megan Fox's acting in Transform. Come on! Fish puppets and muppets to stir the fears up. I squeeze screams out of chocolate syrup. I'm the best mamma jammer ever stood behind the camera. Damage panderers and haunt you like the last Indiana.
Give me a Tylenol, stop rhyming, y'all. Alfred, you got no style, dog. I'm the king of dialogue. There's only one movie I know you from. And I've seen more blood in the shower when I stubbed my toe in one. Tried to fight in World War I, but couldn't do that. The British Army wouldn't let you join.
Go! Welcome to Cordkillers. Our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you can watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, on whatever damn device you please. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and that was, Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg, Alfred Hitchcock, and also special appearance by Stanley Kubrick, and ultimately by Michael Bay, all in
Yeah,
one
you gotta
epic
go watch
rap
If you
battle.
don't know epic rap battles of history, you've got to watch epic rap battles.
Yeah, no. It's normally like there's like this quality level where it's like they're so good that it's like we don't bother to show them. And epic rap battles of history has done that a long time ago. Like they're so popular, so good that it's not even worth it to show them. But in this case, you know, being all filmmakers, it just felt like right. So I went ahead and did that.
Yeah, it's an epic in the epic rap battles of history. And if you're wondering why they're bagging on Michael Bay so much, you just got to watch it all the way to the end.
Oh my gosh! Okay, yes, all right. In fact,
hey, who is popular and good and awesome is also our guest today, Ms. Amber Mack. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. It's great to be here. I'm a big fan of the show, so I'm happy to. I think this is my first time on the show, though.
This is your first time on Cordkillers, correct?
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
We had you under the frame rate years, I think, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
It was a great practice run that we
Also, I had Amber on Daily Tech News Show earlier today, so that may be also what I'm
Tom's sick of me.
Totally not. It's so good to have you. Amber was telling me, Brian, before the show that she just was working on a conference where Dana Brunetti was the keynote speaker.
Holy cow! By the way, it's a peculiar. You know, we've noticed that. What was it? Like the phrase "watch what you want when you want on whatever device you want" seems to have wormed its way into the public sphere, and we would really like to think that we had a hand in doing that, but I don't know that we entirely can do that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think that's the direction that every network television executive wants to go anyway. It's just that I'm not sure they have the infrastructure to necessarily do it. So that's part of the problem.
But the conference that you were working on was all about this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, so it was called Next Media 3.0. It was all about the future of television. And it was a 2-day event. As you mentioned, Dana Brunetti was a keynote. We also had the co-founder of College Humor there. We had one of the executives from Vice there as well. And basically 2 days talking about the future of TV, the future of content, why people are cutting the cord and what it means to television executives as well as advertising executives. So I was the executive producer of the conference, and pretty much the past 6 months I've been working hard on making that happen. It took place in the middle of November, and it was a fabulous event to be part of.
So
right on.
you know all the things then.
I know all. That's how I started the event, actually, Tom. I know all the things. I'm Amber Mack, and I know all the things. Nothing more to say. But, you know, I'm learning, right? I started in television. I have a master's in journalism, started in TV, was there for a couple years, and then left and have been freelance and doing online and TV for the past 8 years. So I sort of have a vested interest in figuring out the future of what's happening and continuing to be a content creator in this space as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this show is about, is helping people who want to enjoy this stuff figure out how they can do it to the best advantage, right? Be able, like we say, watch what you want, where you want, when you want. Let's start off with our primary target.
Yeah!
So, Brian, you know that HBO thing, they're going to have their online-only service. It's coming this year. Turns out there's some internal drama around it. Fortune published an internal memo and cited sources saying that HBO had ended the project internally. They'd been developing internally under the codename Maui and has outsourced it now to MLB Advanced Media, who are, yes, the people who do Major League Baseball's website and video properties, but they also do a lot of other video properties, including WWE's online streaming. And it turns out HBO was just worried that when they launched this, it was not going to go well. So they've moved it out of house. The other thing that was in this email or this memo that was interesting, I guess it's an email, our top priority, fully support the work needed to enable the external solution for April. So it looks like April is the target date to launch it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lie. This really surprises me. First of all, you know, we were the first to downplay the rumors of like HBO is going to do a standalone service independent from all of its bedfellows for cable. But the fact that not only is it definitely happening, but it appears to be definitely happening in time for Game of Thrones freaking blows my mind. We were, Tom, you and I are 37 varieties of wrong on this. Like, it's happening, and it's happening faster and better than we ever dared hope. Amber, I mean, is this, I mean, are you jumping for joy on this?
Yeah, I think this is great. I'm happy to see that they're not actually building their own technology, because I think for some of these people in this industry, at the end of the day, I mean, that's not necessarily what they do best, right? They create great content, and do we really want them wasting time on building technology that won't necessarily be the right fit for them or will take longer? So I think in terms of timing, a lot of people are going to be really excited about this.
I mean, even with HBO Go, when there is a Game of Thrones outage or a True Detective outage, the internet howls in rage. Can you imagine if they come out there saying, oh, by the way, we're now charging you $40 or $30 or whatever a month for a service, and then it's down on top of that? I mean, maybe they won't charge that much, but any amount that they're charging, that thing is going to have to be up constantly during its launch period.
Well, and so you bring up a good point where it's like we actually don't know the final cost. We only know the rumored inside memos as far as what their target date to start all this is. If you're going to place money on how much a HBO standalone service costs, what are you going to put it at, Tom?
I'm going to say it has to be more expensive than what you pay at the cable companies. That's going to be part and parcel of the deal with the cable companies, right?
Sure.
And also, HBO doesn't want to eat into those cable arrangements, because remember, we heard about the DirecTV contract that said, hey, if your thing gets too popular too fast, we're going to start your marketing. HBO is probably okay with that marketing going away at some point, but it has to be at a point where they're selling enough of the other subscription to make sense. So I'm figuring 25.
Wow, that's super expensive. Amber, do you think that would you pay $25 for a standalone HBO?
Absolutely not.
Really?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I feel like that's a little bit pricey, right? I mean, if you think about other services that are out there and the cost of some of these services, most of the services that I see or subscribe to are really in the $10 range. So I think when you get into $25 a month and all of a sudden my cable bill was cheaper than some of these standalone services, it just doesn't make sense anymore. So I think it's a little too expensive.
Yeah, I got it.
And I'm just making up that number. Let's just make sure people understand that. I don't have any idea. I think the lowest that they could go would be 15. Would that change your answer?
Yeah, I think 15 is more reasonable. I think if they got to $12, that would maybe even more reasonable. Maybe $10 would be ideal. But I do think that there is an issue with the cost rising up with a lot of these separate services that people subscribe to, and people just getting frustrated with the overall cost.
But keep in mind, like 15, give or take, is what they're charging right now, and it insists that you already be connected to cable and then pay 15 on top of it. I got to admit, like I think there is something magic about the $20 point where it's like beyond that, it's hard for me to picture anybody jumping. I feel like $19 as a standalone option, you're competing with Netflix, you're offering something that Netflix doesn't have, which is more relevant, more up-to-date movies, and I don't know.
I think you're swaying me, Brian. Like, it just sounds, I can already see the advertisement of $19.99 a month.
Yeah. Well, at that point, you're in the neighborhood of what it costs to get HBO anyway, without any of the baggage of having current cable. You're competitive with Netflix, and yeah, I don't know. I just feel like $19.99 has to be the magic point.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be 12 because that's usually the price that you pay the cable company. Sometimes it's a little less depending on how they pitch it. That's why I think 15 is the
Isn't it safe to say that a lot of people don't want to pay for HBO and then they're just stealing the shows anyway? I mean, like, because they think it's too expensive even with their cable packages.
Right.
But keep in mind that the people who are stealing the stuff are doing so because there does not exist a legal option for them to. If you're a cord cutter, there's no way for you to legally get.
Totally. And I couldn't agree more, but I also think there's people who, you know, if they could get the price down even a little bit, they probably won't. I'm talking sort of an ideal scenario. I just think at the end of the day, you know, there are people who may still think that's a little too pricey.
It's the balance they've got to face, right? Which is, on the one hand, keeping the customer interested enough to be like, oh, okay, I guess it's worth it to pay that, to not have to go out there and steal stuff and sneak around and get my parents' HBO Go login or whatever. But at the other hand, it can't be too low, or it blows off all the partnerships with the cable companies out there who are like, well, we're not giving you free advertising anymore. And then their sales on the bigger platform right now starts to fall.
I'll tell you what, I'm not going to pretend that I'm the target demographic. I'm not going to pretend that I am the most likely person that they're thinking of. However, like, loving Game of Thrones as much as I do, like, I'm just begging, as long as it's under $40 a month, I will instantly buy whatever it is, you know? So it's like there's some price inelasticity built in that they can get away with. I don't know, like I will say yes to whatever, so it's really up to them to decide what they're going to charge me.
It's also a lot of pressure, I think, on some of these companies. You know, I think about Netflix, and one of the reasons that I subscribe is I love House of Cards, and I absolutely want to see every season of House of Cards. But if they don't continue to have these hits, I mean, there is a lot of pressure on them to keep pumping out these big budget hits, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think they'll start high on a price because they know people love Game of Thrones. They know people love True Detective. They've got the hits in the process right now. And if they start to succumb to that pressure and people are like, well, yeah, they haven't put out anything cool and new lately, they want to give themselves some room to drop the price, right? It's always easier to be the person saying, hey, it's not $19.99 anymore, it's $18 or $15 or whatever. It's a lot harder to have to boost that price later because you got it too low.
Keep in mind also that HBO has this immaculate reputation for all of its previous hits. Like, they're able to come in and say, hey, man, the whole world's talking about The Wire. You haven't seen The Wire yet? Guess what? $20? You could dive in and watch The Wire in HD because we remastered it just for you, even though David Simon doesn't necessarily like it. I feel like they could come in at the high end and then drop down from there.
All right. We'll just have to wait till April. Find out.
Yeah, I was just curious if you think people are less likely to pay the same price for a service like HBO because it is streaming. I mean, is there something psychologically going on where they think, okay, well, this is streaming, I should somehow get it cheaper? Just curious what you guys think.
Yeah, I think it more comes from what you were saying earlier, Amber, which is Netflix is $8, $9, Hulu is $8, $9. Like, I think that's where people's heads at. Like, that is the price I pay for a streaming product.
But keep in mind also, like, Netflix is $12 if you have 3 streaming objects at a time. You know, it's like, you know, they've built in this tiered pricing.
That's a clever spin. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you know, for one-to-one, you know, apples to apples, you could make the case that Netflix really belongs in the $12 or $16 per month category.
Just lean right into that HBO Go password sharing thing, and HBO's like, it's $19.99 a month, but with a dozen accounts can watch it at a time or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally believe that, especially if they're trying to establish market share. It would make sense for them to be very permissive, like just join the club and then don't worry about how many they are, and we'll be very permissive there.
Yeah. Anything that companies can do to make the comparison hard, they do. So I would totally see them do things like that, where the price will be higher, but the number of streams you can do will always be more than Netflix, and they'll tout the fact that they have the HD wire, where Netflix or Amazon Prime only has the standard definition wire. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that you can pay whatever you want for is this show. You don't have to pay anything for it if you don't want to, but we do appreciate the people who do.
Hold on, wait. You're saying that like people can just not pay a dang thing, and meanwhile other people will cover their costs and somehow make this independent production possible?
I'm saying there's around 8,000 or 9,000 of people that are doing just that.
What?
And that's fine. We're totally fine with that.
Dude.
But we do really appreciate the 1,963 people who are kicking us $1 or so a show. Patreon.com/Cordkillers is the place to find out if you want to give us a little value back for the value you're getting. That's what allows us to do the show, and we could not be happier with the support we've gotten.
Yeah, man. Triple thanks to everybody who chips in a few dimes here or there. It doesn't mean a lot to you, but it means the world to us. Thank you so much for making our show independent and possible.
Let us gather the signals intelligence.
Yes, and interpret those, too.
I hear it. Boop, 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 boop. It sounds like something old, but it's not. This is the section of the show where we talk about streaming services, and Amazon is now where Netflix was a year or so ago, getting their first major award nomination. Golden Globe nominations came out. Amazon got a nomination for Best Comedy TV Series and Best Actor for Transparent. Of course, Jeffrey Tambor gets the nomination for Best Actor for Transparent. And what's funny is all the headlines were about that today, even though Netflix once again got nominated for House of Cards for Best Drama, Robin Wright for Best Actress, Kevin Spacey for Best Actor, Orange is the New Black for Best Comedy Series, Taylor Schilling for Best Actress, and even Derek, the comedy, got a nomination for Ricky Gervais for Best Actor.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Number one, good 85 varieties of good for Amazon for taking this crown, man. It's like number one,
Globe. But, yeah.
Well, Globe, right. Thrilled for Amazon. Cannot believe that somehow Hulu has dropped the ball. Hulu was the number 2 streaming service behind Netflix. Not anymore, man. As far as quality and...
Well, hold on there, Brian, though. Hulu could make the argument that they have all the other shows that are nominated.
I mean, they could.
Except for the CBS
Sure. I mean, yes, you could do that by the numbers. However, as far as like public mind share goes, Hulu was definitively the number 2 service behind Netflix. Not the case anymore. Now it's arguably the number 2 service behind Netflix. This is amazing to me to see Netflix go from, as we've called it on previous iterations of the show, the RC Cola of the bunch to now, firmly being the Pepsi of the bunch. I'm thrilled, man. It's amazing.
Did you watch Transparent, Amber?
I haven't seen Transparent, so I've heard good things about it, but I have not seen it yet. So House of Cards, of course, Orange is the New Black, big fan of those shows, but haven't seen Transparent. Do you guys like it?
Transparent is supernaturally good. It is maybe it is transformably good insofar as like it stands apart from the rest of the pack at such a level that it fundamentally alters what you expect from streaming content. I love what Amazon has done with Transparent, and I'm surprised that it's Amazon doing it.
That's very cool. It's interesting. I don't know if you guys know much about this, but in Canada, our 2 biggest telcos just recently launched their own streaming services. One is called Show Me. One is called Crave TV. Show Me does plan to create their own original content. So who knows, down the road, maybe you'll see one of their shows get into this mix in terms of awards. But there's just so much competition heating up in this space right now for streaming services. And we're seeing a lot of that in Canada, again, from the telcos who just in the past few months launched their own services to compete with Netflix.
That's a really really good point too, because previously we've gotten kind of dinged by our international audience for having so much U.S. centric focus, but it's amazing to see how much internationally focused content is coming out now.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Crave TV, I think they're charging $4 a month. Show Me, I think, is closer to that $10, $8 to $10 price point. But these two services getting a lot of attention from people up here. Netflix has been beaten up big time in the press up here as far as not having enough Canadian content. And we have a lot of regulations where you have to adhere to a certain amount of content that's produced in the country. So they've been in the middle of this debate for a long time. And some of these new services are coming in to guarantee that Canadians will have more Canadian homemade content and there will be more competition for something like Netflix. So, I mean, this is just the beginning. Obviously, there are lots of different services out there, but I suspect in the long run, when it comes to some of these awards, when we're talking about Golden Globes and whatnot, I mean, there's going to be even more services added into the mix.
Yeah.
Can you get Show Me and Crave without subscribing to Rogers or Shaw Cable?
That's a great question. So I do believe with Show Me that you do not have to be a subscriber to Rogers. However, with Crave TV, you do need to be a subscriber to Bell. So they're the company behind Crave TV. So it's a little bit of a different model in some ways, but literally within 6 to 8 weeks, each of those services launched again from competing telcos, and a whole lot of disruption happening up here.
It's just really good. I mean, just getting back to Amazon getting this nomination, maybe they'll win, maybe they won't. But we were so excited when House of Cards got its first nomination for an award, because it was the arrival of high top broadcast quality television from the internet. And so having Amazon in there too, it's starting to say like, hey, we can have more than one producer of that sort of thing. I wouldn't be surprised, Brian, if a Hulu original finally does make it in here, or maybe we'll get from some other part, like a Crackle or a YouTube or something like that.
I mean, I'll tell you this much. If I'm Hulu right now, then I am definitely budgeting, $20, $30, $40 million just to, get us one of those original popular things that are really good. Go. What are we doing? We're being left behind. I'll tell you what, as far as like Jeffrey Tambor specifically, absolutely deserved. If you haven't watched Transparent, it is utterly astonishing. It is unbelievably believable, if that makes sense. Like you feel like you are physically there with these very real characters in their very real situation. Congratulations to Amazon.
And now what Netflix and Amazon have done is made it so that if you want to be the hipster who's watched all the cool shows, you have to subscribe to them. Right, you want to be the first one on the scene. It used to be like, oh, you've got to have FX, you've got to have AMC, you've got to have HBO, maybe Showtime, maybe Cinema, definitely Showtime, maybe Stars. Now it's you've got to have Netflix, and maybe now you got to have Amazon Prime too.
Yeah, and again, it still is very odd to me that Amazon Prime, a shipping club membership, is what gets you into the high quality content membership club as well. You
mean it's really weird that when you subscribe to Amazon Prime streaming video, you get this bonus shipping perk?
Very bizarre.
I guess that is kind of the weird flip that we're experiencing.
It all
now
depends on which door you're entering, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It used to be that like Amazon Prime is essentially a Costco membership, and by the way, you get some content. And now it's the flip of it's like, hey man, sign up for the content. Also, by the way, you get free shipping. Still weird.
I do think it's encouraging though. What you guys have probably talked about this at length on the show, but in terms of what Amazon is doing with Amazon Studios and actually supporting content creators and giving them an opportunity to get money to create pilots. I mean, that to me is like the one thing that Amazon is doing so well in this mix is just having an opportunity to have all of these new shows and new producers come to the table.
Yeah, and we're going to see more of that going on too, with Vessel launching, YouTube's in direct response to Vessel doing YouTube originals, and I think more studios. Microsoft, one of the few that's scaling back, but more other studios are popping up saying, yeah, we want to fund some really high quality stuff out there, which is great for us. We get more good stuff to watch.
Absolutely.
Let's gear up,
shall we?
And if you didn't divine this from the name, this is the segment about gear that you use to watch the things you want to watch.
And moving vertically upwards.
Yes, and putting it up. It's really hard to balance those set-top boxes on top of these flat panel TVs these days. That's what this segment's all about. No, it's Apple TV this time. Apple TV got some updated apps. Condé Nast added their The Scene app, which doesn't have just Condé Nast video. They also have things like from The Verge and stuff. It's an interesting app to play around with. Fusion, the cable channel that's sort of the heir to current TV, I guess, in a way, has an app now. Daily Motion has an app on Apple TV. UFC TV is offering a $10 a month fight pass. But the thing that most of the headlines were talking about was YouTube finally updating their ridiculously outdated Apple TV app. And the one thing you might not love is that more ads will run. But what that also means is because more ads will run, all the people who didn't want their videos to run on Apple TV because they wouldn't get credit for the ads will now let their videos run on the Apple TV. So you have a bigger selection of YouTube videos to watch.
Yeah, this is one of those weird sideways things where it's like we have to perversely find ourselves in the situation of saying like, yay, hooray for ads, more ads. However, like more ads does mean more content, and it means a better situation for content producers. So in that regard, it's good. I guess part of the reason this story stuck out to me, Tom, is that is Apple TV in danger of losing relevance altogether? Like it's been so long that we've been waiting for them to turn a corner for something with a consumer product, and it just isn't appearing to happen. Like should we just let it go?
Did you just quote Frozen?
Maybe.
Sing it.
In the words of my not even 2-year-old girl, do. Okay, that's what she says. Yeah.
Dead on. It's like you're Idina Menzel. So I struggle with this because I see people saying, well, it's pretty obvious Apple doesn't have any plans to update the Apple TV, right? Because YouTube just updated their app. I got two problems with that. One is, if I'm YouTube, I'm not waiting another day. Even if Apple says, you know what, we're coming out with a new product in March, I'm like, great. We still really need to update this because we're losing we're losing streams that we need to have. And secondly, Apple TV still is very good compared to Roku and Fire TV and everything. There's more competition in the marketplace, so they can't rest on their laurels forever. But it's not like it's irrelevant just because they haven't done an actual television or some cable-only, internet-only cable TV service. Yeah, they need to come up with another way to get your attention back on Apple TV. But I still use the Apple TV box a lot. A, for AirPlay, sending things from my laptop to it, and B, because it is usually easy to find what I want there.
Yeah, I think there's a comfort level too, right? When it comes to Apple, I think of my mom who's 71 years old, and she recently got Apple TV, and she was so excited she set it up by herself. I mean, it's just really easy as far as the whole process of setting up, but also consumers are just comfortable with the brand. They know it, they trust it, they have a place to turn if they have issues with connectivity. So I think they have that going for them as well.
Yeah, again, agree with all of that in theory. However, in practice, it's like at the end of the day, now keep in mind, I might be just lagging behind from a hardware point of view. Like right now, if I'm going to play something, it's either going to be on my Fire Stick or my Xbox. I have a Chromecast, but it's just complicated enough that I very rarely bother to sling content up to the television from it. Meanwhile, I have an older Generation 1 Apple TV, and maybe it would be different if I had one of the newer ones. Wait.
You're thinking of the big white box Apple TV. This one is irrelevant, Brian.
Yes. No.
That is true.
It is.
You need to get the little black hockey puck one. It's much better.
Well, but at this point, it's difficult for me to justify why to spend. I mean, even at what it was like $50 or $70 or whatever, where it's like you have so many of these low cost alternatives, these sticks, whether it's a Chromecast or a Fire Stick or whatever, will do most of the things that you want to do with it. I am shocked to realize that the Apple TV is falling into the mushy middle, where it's like I don't understand the purpose of the Apple TV box.
But there's still a lot of people using it. And so, I think what you're identifying is that people going into the marketplace for the first time, or like yourself saying, okay, what's the next thing that will help me get even more out of it, aren't looking at the Apple TV as often as they used to, right? It's not like it was for a while, like either Roku or Apple TV. Those are your choices, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, there's a Vudu box and there's a Western Digital thing and this or that, but it was kind of that. Now with Chromecast, with Fire TV Stick, and even Fire TV Box, you've got a lot more choices. So Apple TV needs to do more to differentiate itself, I guess.
I mean, I guess that's my concern at this point, where it's like Apple TV spent an awful long time being the obvious next other screen to stream up to your television, and I don't know that it's there anymore. Am I crazy?
I think it's
here,
back
Amber?
to being the device that's best for people who live in the Apple universe.
I think so too. I mean, I still go back to the fact that I think consumers are just comfortable with it. At the end of the day, when you name off all the other choices as far as different devices they can get, I mean, I don't think there's that comfort level like they would have if they hear about the Apple TV. But I would also say too, I mean, I think Apple has kind of dropped the ball. I mean, it isn't necessarily a product that they push and promote anymore. I mean, just from my own experience dealing with the PR people at Apple, and I'm sure you've had your own experiences, but it's just not on their radar as much anymore. And I'm sure that's going to continue into 2015, especially with their watch launch.
Yeah. No, I could totally believe that.
Yeah, although they've got this entire infrastructure built for videos and music, and I can't imagine they'll let it die forever. But yes, Apple does that, where they're like, not a priority for us for a couple of years, maybe. And then we'll finally turn back to that product. But yeah, you're right, Amber.
Just
totally
one
right.
more thing.
It's all about watches now. It's the TV watch. The TV watch stick. When you're not wearing it, you just put it on your television.
Do you believe like you would, like, in all honesty, 1 year from now, if you're going to place money on this bet, within 2 years, do you think you will ever watch a video on an Apple Watch?
I don't think so.
I think you're saying that now.
I will watch a video on an Apple Watch in the strictest sense, in like maybe a Vine.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It depends. Like, the shorter the video, obviously, the smaller the screen size, you're comfortable with that, but it would have
I'll
to
watch
be
Amber's
a Vine.
new show.
I don't know, dude. Like we could say that now, but like when something is timely when you're looking at a Ferguson video or an Arab Spring kind of video or whatever, like that stuff pops up on your wrist, you're gonna watch it, dude.
So now everybody's going to be walking
you.
around with their wrists in their faces?
Probably. I don't even know that I have a problem with it.
Hey, if it's what you want to watch and where you want to watch it is your wrist,
Oh, that's a good point.
we got no problem with it.
Fair enough. Hey, man, I'll tell you what people will definitely be doing within the next year is buying all of their awesome, rad merchandise from dailytechnewsshow.com/store and swordandlaser.com/store, right?
Yes. Well, one would hope, because that's why we did this store. Yeah, dailytechnewsshow.com, the other show I do. Most of you probably know about that. We have a store that is available if you're interested in things that are about Daily Tech News Show. So we have a mobile device charger, a coffee mug, even a DTNS flask now. One of those, like...
By the way, for the record, that flask is the jam. It's got that awesome, like hand-wrought leatherwork on there. It looks so good.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so, if you just want to support the wider universe of stuff that Brian and I do, we have stores that go along, like with scam stuff. We should probably do a store for Cordkillers, Brian.
Well, that's a heck of an idea. Did I ever tell you the story about my father-in-law seeing our Cordkillers mug? So we had, and again, you probably know the name of our donor who put together our Cordkillers mugs and sent them over to us. We got 6 Cordkillers mugs, each one featuring different art. My favorite is the one that says "Join or Cut or Die," that I believe you're about to show up right there on the screen. Yeah, and my father-in-law saw those, and we were like, I was so excited because he was like, "Hey, these are really great mugs. Can I get one?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, actually, can I get 2?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course you can." I was so thrilled. I give him a third of all of my mugs. And then he says, "Yeah, no, these are just the right size, for our tiny, for the amount of coffee that I have in our tiny little microwave. What's this Cordkillers things, by the way?"
Oh, no.
I thought you were going to say something even worse, like, "Hey, these are the perfect size to store my spare nuts and bolts." Got just about that many.
No, I felt terrible though. I was like, "Oh, he doesn't even know what the show is." But apparently it's exactly the right size of mug. So hopefully you guys can enjoy that as well.
But anyway, if you want to support us in other ways, there's lots of other ways to do it. That was the whole point of this. So check out swordandlaser.com/store if you want the science fiction anthology we sell, or some sci-fi and fantasy paraphernalia, or if you're more tech news minded, dailytechnewsshow.com/store. Let us assault the front lines and battery.
Frontlines!
Yeah, HBO Go is now available on Amazon's Fire TV. Owners of the Fire TV stick dongle will have to wait until this spring. Comcast and Charter cable cos are not supporting the device, although they're not supporting the device, so no HBO Go for their customers. But meanwhile, I got to imagine if HBO follows through on their alleged semi-announced plans of offering an independent subscription, that we'd be able to get it on the Fire Stick, right?
Well, maybe. They're not. HBO Go is now an entirely different team, right? So it's not going to be the same team developing an app for both. And HBO Go isn't even coming to the Fire TV until spring. So I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Well, shoot. That you just took the fire out of me, man.
Bad news.
Amber, what's your guess?
I would say, yeah. I mean, they're totally separate, so I'd say maybe it will take some time. So I wouldn't necessarily be anticipating that would happen.
Yeah, it's going to be another year before they get Comcast on board and all that stuff. The fact that the app is there is great. Yes, especially if you are subscribing to a service that
infrastructure, Tom. They're getting ready for the party to arrive.
Hulu has a Share the Joy of the Seasons promo that makes more shows available on its Android app without needing a subscription. Episodes from current seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Sleepy Hollow, and South Park, among others, are part of the promo.
Yeah, that's a smart move. Sorry, go ahead, Amber.
Is it just a temporary thing? Like they're available just for a short period of time because it's the holiday season?
They have some shows available for free on the Hulu Plus Android app, but they're making more available.
That's cool. People will like that. There's the Hulu news maybe we were looking for.
Yeah, I don't know. They're smart to do it this way. I don't know how much it'll resonate. But
can't hurt.
That's true. At the UBS Global Media Conference last week, Ted Sarandos, chief content officer at Netflix, said the company hopes to have, quote, as many as 20 original series running in the next 5 years. Netflix aims to premiere new content every 2.5 weeks or so, he said. Quote, we are trying to create shows for the audience that will love it. To me, it sounds like, they flat out said everything we're doing is out of the HBO playbook, and this seems like another great move in that direction, right?
Well, when he says we're trying to create shows for the audience that will love it, he means they don't all have to be big hits like House of Cards. Some of them can be niche hits,
like Hemlock Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, also you have to think about the kids' audience as well on Netflix. I mean, I see them creating more kids shows as well. They just had a launch of a show that they did an original series. So I think when it comes to niche audiences, absolutely that's what they're going to have to go after, and be difficult for them to have a big hit like House of Cards again.
Absolutely. By the way, minor extension, half extension. Yes, I'm glad to hear you talk about them nailing the outreach on the kids show stuff, because the Netflix ecosystem is uniquely qualified, to appeal to kids who want to rewatch the same content over and over and over and over and over again. So it's like when you have something like Turbo Fast or one of these kids hits, they can nail it.
It sucks them in.
Yeah, exactly.
GigaOM has a source who says Netflix is close to finalizing a deal with a major cable or satellite operator, and Netflix is speaking to a number of other U.S. pay TV operators. And we've talked before, Netflix is available on boxes elsewhere outside of the United States, but they really want to get on the boxes in the U.S. because the Netflix here is their flagship property, and they want to be on that box right next to HBO and Starz and Showtime.
So is now the right time for us to speculate irresponsibly about what that content provider would be?
Yes.
I mean, I figure it's got to be like a Comcast Time Warner thing.
Well,
right?
no, it was going to be Time Warner Cable, and then when Comcast made the play to buy them, that deal fell apart. So either you're right, they started the negotiations over again from scratch and it's Comcast, or it's totally anyone but Comcast.
I think
it's probably like a Cablevision or a Charter.
I don't know, man. Part of me wants to see like an outside player, like a Dish, just come out of nowhere. Amber, do you have a gut feeling on this?
I don't know. I mean, I know this will probably end up happening, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I think it's going to be a long way before we see this actually go through, even if there have been rumors about it. I don't know. I think it's going to be a while.
Congratulations, Google Fiber TV. And your new partnership.
Well, hold on. Do you think that they would be the one? You only have 5 seconds.
Could be.
Quick. Really?
Could be. No,
I feel like that would be rocking the boat in a way they don't want to do. Hey, man, CBS and Dish reached an agreement this weekend that will end all pending litigation between the companies, as well as put CBS content back on Dish. In addition, during the 7-day window following the airing of a CBS show, the auto hop feature will be disabled. So apparently they're taking away the one punk rock feature of their awesome auto hop extravaganza?
No, they're using the one amazing negotiating stick that they won in court.
Fair enough. All right. So you think this is a case where it's just like, that's fascinating because like I just assumed that like they were in a position to offer something outrageous to customers, but you're saying the whole reason they offered it was maybe so they could take it away to make things better?
I'm saying they saw that auto hopper as a crowbar, and you can hit people in the head with a crowbar, or you can use it for leverage.
All right, fair enough. Have you ever played with any of that, Amber?
I have not played with any of that.
All right.
Yeah, it's also the past, right?
Yep, nope, that's true.
Amazon announced 4K Ultra HD streaming now available in the United States. Offerings include some of Amazon's own shows like Transparent, as well as some non-Amazon shows like BBC America's Orphan Black, and a selection of Sony movies. Videos are encoded with H.265, which means you have to have a TV, and it has to be a TV that does HEVC decoding to be able to watch this. You can't watch it on a computer yet.
Yeah, this is the bummer, right? It's like... there are a million very good reasons they can give for why you can't watch it on a computer, and I'll take an extension on this because I think this is a big idea. Ultimately, it seems like the reason that you can't do it boils down to DRM, right? Where it's like, there's in Southeast Asia, there are pirate theaters that as soon as DVDs came out, that would start to, instead of paying the actual performance fees, they would just run out and get a DVD and play it in the local theater. Same thing with Blu-ray, and then now with 4K content, there's a built-in reason. And keep in mind, there's very likely, in the last year, when you went to go watch a movie at the movie theater, you only saw it in 2K, didn't even see it in 4K. So it's like, if they start taking all this content and making it available in 4K, then having it be able to stream to PCs would only make things easier for them.
Right. No one will ever pirate anything if they don't make it available on a PC.
I mean,
It'll save them from all piracy ever.
I mean, I'm not saying they're right, but I'm saying that's their thinking, right?
That's probably the thinking, yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Like, Amber, are you somebody who cares necessarily? Like, I want to watch it on my PC instead of just my TV box.
No, I'm not someone who really cares. In fact, I've been doing a show for AOL called the Tech Download, and we just did a little feature on 4K. And I don't know. I don't know if it's it's a preference for some people, but I just don't care that much about the difference in the quality. And for me, it's just more, I'm okay with watching content wherever on any device, no matter where I am. Pretty much.
Yeah,
right on.
Maybe a movie will come along or a show that'll be so much better in 4K that it'll sway me. But right now, I'm not even wanting a 4K TV, and not just because of the lack of programming. Like, this could be the thing that goes, ooh, yeah, okay. I love Orphan Black, love Transparent, would love to watch these things in 4K, except I don't. I don't care.
I'll tell you what, though, like, weirdly, I would definitely buy a curved surface display before I bought, something 4K.
Wow. That's some strong words right there.
Wait, you think curved is nonsense?
I think it's silly.
I was talking to Robert Heron over Twitter on this, and he was like, aesthetically, it really matters. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Really?
Except the thing is, Robert's totally right, but Robert's one of those people who can see things that I'll never see.
Fair enough. All right. Shall we check out what's under surveillance, sir?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
These are things that we have been watching. And so, Amber, we'll give you a little moment to collect your thoughts, because I don't think I warned you that we'd be asking you this, but we just like to talk about the stuff we've been watching. I want to know what Brian's been watching, because I know that you were saying on the phone the other day you were exploring an old television show with your daughter.
Okay. Well, what's funny is I'm getting ready to possibly explore it with my daughter. I was hanging out with Bonnie 2 nights ago, and I was like, hey, do you think Penny can handle watching Firefly? Because, like, part of the reason I love Firefly is that it's so gritty. But also, you know, my daughter's 10. So it's like, you know, and there's definitely a prostitute as a major character on the show. So it's like I started it up.
She's a companion.
Yeah, okay, whatever. She's an ambassador. I started it up just to sort of have the discussion with Bonnie, like, hey, do you think Penny can handle this? And before I knew it, we'd spent like 90 minutes watching the first episode all the way through. And it's like, man, it just sucked me in. Holy crap, that show holds up, Tom, and I'm super, super thrilled to say so. I also watched Marco Polo, which I suspect we'll talk about in Spoiler in Time. I today watched all 3 episodes of Series 2 of Black Mirror. It emotionally drained me, Tom. Like,
no kidding.
The reason I was 10 minutes late was because I watched everything up until like 3:30, 4 p.m. and then I was just like, I just gotta lay down. And then I fell asleep, and then we started 10 minutes later because I had fallen all the way asleep. I'm still processing the stuff that I went through.
You got Black Mirrored.
I did. So anyway, that's what I've been watching. Yeah. So there's that.
Amber, what have you been looking at lately?
Okay, so I made a little list because you gave me like a few second warnings. So Newsroom, I haven't watched the final episode, but I have watched the season up until last night. So I'm really excited to see the finale from last night. Also wanted to mention, you know, I think one of the things that happens in my house all the time, because my son is almost 6 years old, is, to be honest with you, we watch a lot of YouTube content. You know, there are people like Stampy Longhead, who is on all the time teaching other kids how to play Minecraft videos. And so our viewing habits, even though I'm not actually watching that stuff, just by nature of him watching it all the time, I absorb it. And I'm absolutely fascinated with watching what he's watching and how he interacts with that show. There's another show that he watches on YouTube, which is called Art for Kids Hub. And this one's really cool because it's an art show on YouTube, and literally you can create your own art, you draw and you color. But what amazes me is watching someone his age watching the show. He's like pausing the video, drawing, going back because he missed a step. And I look at that little interaction he has with the iPad when he's doing this, and I think about the future of television for someone his age, and I'm totally fascinated because it's such an interactive experience, and I just learn a lot from watching some of those shows with him. So that's kind of what's going on in our house.
It's funny that you would mention that, Amber, because that's actually shaped the way we actually craft Scam School episodes, because Scam School, of course, is objectively you're learning how to do a magic trick. And when we first started, we would make sure to, like, you know, explain a thing and then explain it again from another angle so that you could see it and process it. And everything was very linear at the time. But nowadays, we intentionally will be all like, yes, that's a little bit ambiguous, but don't worry. They could go back and rewind it and see this from, you know, 4 or 5 different times and figure it out. The form shapes the function is what we're discovering, especially on you know, explaining how different, you know, how to things work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he does the same thing with Stampy Longhead. So he's watching this guy on YouTube who has millions of subscribers, and he's watching Stampy build, and then he has another iPad or a computer right beside him, and he's building in Minecraft at the same time. So what I'm finding with him is just watching him, he doesn't really sit and watch shows and just veg out and do nothing. He really wants to do and watch shows where he's able to create stuff and interact, and I think that's been a shift over the past year with him, and I just have to believe that's the future of how a lot of people who are in his generation are going to consume content.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, Tom, I forgot to mention that peripherally, I've seen an awful lot of Animaniacs. The kids have really fallen in love with Animaniacs.
Well, I've been watching most of the stuff that I normally have been watching. Season finales for Arrow, Flash, Once Upon a Time, or mid-season finales, I should say, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Tell you what, Arrow and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. blew me away with their mid-season cliffhanger finale, whatever you want to call them. We'll talk about The Shield, episode 2, season 4 in spoiler in time. I also was watching Star Wars Revisited, which a friend of mine gave me on a burned DVD. It's if you haven't heard about it, a video effects artist went through and color corrected and updated the video effects after the special editions came out, because he was like, oh, I thought they were actually going to make it look better, not just add things. And it's amazing. Like, it brings that movie to life again. He's got a big disclaimer saying you cannot own this copy unless you own the DVD of Star Wars as well. So he's trying to play by the rules. He doesn't distribute it intentionally on the internet, but it's really well done, and it really pops, really makes that movie look new again.
That's awesome. So you also watched Guardians of the Galaxy. Does it
I was going to
hold
hold that for the email that we got.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
All right.
My experience was very similar to that email. But I will say, with the events in Sydney, with the hostage situation there, one thing I found myself doing was turning to my laptop to follow live news and video. Live news video. I did turn on the Apple TV at one point, and I looked at the ABC News app. They were rebroadcasting Channel 9 from Australia, so I watched that for a little while. I turned on Sky News, and they weren't doing a story about Australia at the point that I turned it on, which I think was a fluke. But I just went to BBC on the web, and I had it on my laptop. And whenever I went from room to room, I just brought the laptop with me when I wanted to watch that. And I felt like that was a moment where, like, the last big world event like that I followed was the bombing in the Boston Marathon. And at that point, I was doing a little BBC. I was doing a little, like, following the police scanner online, but I was also had CNN on, right?
Right.
The typical CNN off your DirecTV. So I feel like, live news now, you can totally follow it just as well online as you can anywhere else.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amber.
I'm just so glad that you brought that up, Tom, because I did the same thing last night. And I think I mentioned to you earlier on today. I mean, what my experience was that the first thing I did when I heard about what was taking place is I turned on CNN. And I mean, this just really speaks to how CNN, I think, dropped the ball entirely last night in terms of this tragedy, because they, for 2 hours, were broadcasting a documentary about dinosaurs while this was all unfolding and taking place. So I literally had to sit there with my laptop, also watching ABC News from Sydney. I think they did a great job because they were broadcasting live, not on their own website, but instead on YouTube. So smart move. They also had a little message that say, we're not geo-blocking any visitors right now. You can watch this on YouTube. And so I sat there glued to that, again, because some of the other news outlets just weren't really catching up with the story and covering it at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's interesting to me that I am very aware that I am unpopular insofar as, like, my homepage is Google News, and I know Google News is not the most popular reader, but what I like about it is that it only responds to what is trending, not based on if it's a left-wing source or a right-wing source or whatever. So as a result, I find myself reading, sources from Russia Today and Al Jazeera and MSNBC and Fox News and all of those, just like wherever the heat is where I go. So I would imagine that we're only going to get more of that, hopefully, where it's like, whoever breaks the story first and has the content there, whether it's video or not, is going to be the one that captures the eyeballs.
Yeah, and it used to be like, I would go to the web for the details, but I still wanted to have the video on because live TV was the best way when something new happened that you'd probably hear it first, and that's just not true anymore.
Yep. No, yeah. Agreed.
Let's check in with the winter movie draft real quick.
Gosh.
So, Amber, I don't know if you're familiar, but twice a year, once in the winter, once in the summer, we do sort of a fantasy draft of movies.
Okay.
We all have $100 to spend, and we bid on the movies. And then the person we get 1 point for every dollar of domestic gross. So whoever has the movies that make the most money over the course of the fantasy period wins.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I would love it if Top 5 was pulling in more than $6 million over the weekend. I got to admit, man, for as much as I saw Top 5 advertised, I really expected more than $6 million. And it might be that there's some kind of a hiccup and that money's going to come in slowly and somewhere else. But it's like when I'm working out at the gym, I'm seeing on major, international television, seeing Top 5 advertised. I'm really shocked that apparently after this opening weekend, only $6 million.
And your fate essentially rests with Annie now. I mean, The Hobbit's going to do what The Hobbit's going to do.
Sure.
Right? It's going to bring in $200 million or thereabouts. But if you're going to catch Scott Johnson, which I don't think I have a chance of catching Scott Johnson at this point, it's this weekend. Or actually, no, it's this weekend because The Hobbit comes out on the 17th, but then Annie on the 19th.
By the way, seeing the ads for the interview now, where it's like all of a sudden I thought that was I thought the interview was his BS, like he had extra money left over, but now I'm like, oh man, the interview is a player. Like it looks like it can make some real money.
With recent events too, like putting it in people's minds.
Yeah.
You know, it's just going to be, people are more aware of it. It's
I mean, I hope, to be honest, like I hope if Scott does win, I hope it's on more than the strength of just Big Hero 6 and Interstellar. I would like to see Interview make a good $50 million, and I'd like to see Scott win the game with more than $400 million, is what I'm saying.
Let's check our dispatches from the front.
Yeah.
It's the nicest segment intro in the whole show. I'm going to jump down, Brian, to Dustin's email from Wisconsin, because you asked me about this in what we're watching. He says, I wanted to tell you guys about my experience with Disney Movies Anywhere. Now that the first major release came out this week on Blu-ray, Guardians of the Galaxy, in short, holy crap, it works. Linking the accounts a few weeks back took no time at all since I already had a Disney Rewards account, and LastPass auto-filled my login information for Apple ID and Google Play accounts. I even did Google Play from my Nexus tablet. Then when they added Vudu 2 weeks later, it was so cool to link that account in and have a dozen or so movies show up all at once in that collection. Before, to do something like this, you had to redeem the Ultraviolet copy and then hope that whoever was releasing that movie also let you redeem an iTunes copy. Some movie studios made that a piece of cake. Others would make it more difficult. When I got my copy of Guardians delivered from Amazon, I thought this was going to be the real test. I plugged the code into the Disney website, and it added my digital copy to Disney Anywhere. Then went over to log into Vudu. Was it there? Yep. Google Play? Check. iTunes? Yes, sir. I couldn't believe how smooth that was. So now I have options when I want to watch any Disney Marvel movie. I can either play it on my big screen with a Blu-ray, Chromecast it at my in-laws' house with Vudu or Google Play, or have it on my iPad while I travel.
Dude, I could not be happier to be wrong in this regard. That's fantastic, dude. I love this. I love being wrong.
Here's what I want to say, though, Brian, is you are not wrong in all regards because my setup process was different than Dustin's.
Oh, really?
I got my Blu-ray, and it said, go to this website to log in. So I go to log in. It's a Marvel website, marvel.com/something. So I log in. It's like, create an account. I'm like, okay. Create an account. Oh, that username is taken. That email is taken. I'm like, oh, right, because I have a Marvel Comics account. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to look up that account information. Oh, I forgot the password. I never stored it in LastPass, so then I have to have it reset my password. Then I get in. Finally, I'm like, okay. I'm like, would you like to make a Disney Movies Anywhere? I'm like, yes. It's like, great. Taking you to the Disney Movies Anywhere site.
Oh my God! Wait!
Why didn't you just take me there in the first place?
Are you saying ultimately, like as outrageous as my position sounded a few months ago, you're actually coming around to like what a pain in the ass it was?
Like, man, Brian's totally right about this. Once I got to Disney Movies Anywhere, though, I already had that account set up. I logged into Disney Movies Anywhere and put in my code, and then I'm totally with Dustin from there on out, which was like, I didn't have to do anything. I turned on Vudu. It was already there. I turned on my Apple TV. It was right there at the top, recently purchased, Guardians of the Galaxy. And I had it on Google Play as well on my Nexus 7. I turn on my Nexus 7. It's like, look at my videos. Boom, there it is. So now I can watch Guardians of the Galaxy anywhere I want. I put the Blu-ray in once to watch special features until I realized that the Apple TV copy they gave me has all the same special features on it.
Oh, man. Well, regardless, dude, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be wrong and right at the same time.
Yeah.
I kind of got the perfect blend of all worlds. Hey, Lisa writes me specifically, message, Dearest Brian, would you please stop picking on grandmothers? I'm the proud grandmother of 3 beautiful grandchildren. I'm also an implementation consultant for a software company with a master's degree in technology. As Veronica Belmont used to put it, I am, quote, tech support for my friends and family. Whenever you use grandmothers as an example of people who need to be coddled into adopting new technology, I really want to smack you. So consider yourself smacked, and instead, let's find an appropriate term for those people who are inexperienced with the new technology. We all know what early adopter means. Could we call those people on the other side of the adoption spectrum reluctant adopters or new users? Anything but grandmothers? I love the show and blah, 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 blah. Thank you so much, Lisa. First of all, you're right. Understand that when I say grandmothers, I am thinking specifically of my mom and Bonnie's mom. I am not generalizing. I am thinking of two specific individuals who are the hardest market to penetrate with new technology ideas. That's where I'm coming from.
It's funny. I read this email before I mentioned that my mom was hooking up the Apple TV, and I didn't want to say she was a grandmother because of this email.
Grandma Lisa going to smack you if you say that.
I know, but I think she has a really good point, right? I think there are lots of people who are seniors who are very comfortable with technology. I mean, I have friends who are my age who are uncomfortable with technology, so it is almost worth finding a new way to explain that group who is reluctant in terms of trying out new tech. I just don't know what the perfect phrase is.
Yeah.
I like reluctant adopters. I really do. It's pretty awesome. And then we got a different Lisa wrote in and said, I thought I'd drop you a line and let you know my thoughts on episode 2, season 1 of Black Mirror. Let me preface this by saying I think it's an excellent show, but I find it way too disturbing to be able to enjoy watching it. I was shocked when I heard Brian refer to episode 2 as a jaunty, refreshing respite from episode 1. I also found it interesting that neither you nor Brian mentioned what happened to the woman character. That is the real horror of this story. While she isn't the protagonist, it is her story that I found so scary. When we first meet her, she's very upbeat. The main character falls for her. It gets a little spoilery in what she says here, so I'm not going to say anything more. Except that what happens to her is awful. So as much as episode 1 horrified Brian so much because he emphasized with the main character, episode 2 scared the crap out of me because I empathized with the main character woman. Honestly, I found all 3 episodes of the first season very disturbing. I watched them within 2 nights back to back and ended up with vivid nightmares. I don't plan on watching the second season. I can appreciate that it is a well-written, produced, and acted show, but I can't take it.
Dude, 100%. I'm 100% behind you. We started 10 minutes late because I felt so heavy after watching 3 episodes of season 2, which we'll talk about in spoiler in time, that I laid down for a bit. I was just like, ugh, and then ended up falling asleep to process. It's weird. First of all, you're right, 100% right, and the way they represented that girl's fate was unbelievably creepy. Like, they did an amazing job of conveying all the creepiest aspects of that in a PG-13 way, because I think all you visually see is like a thumb going in her mouth.
Well, and that is one of the brilliances of this entire series is their ability to disturb you without actually crossing the lines of PG.
Yes, correct. 100%. I guess part of the reason I know on my end, it would not occur to me to say that there is anything wrong or damaged or upsetting or whatever, because at the end of the day, it was everyone said yes to that fate. Does that make sense? At the end of the day, she said, yes, I will sign up for this. And that's a touchy aspect of humanity that I don't feel comfortable telling other people.
And I think that's what Lisa's saying is like, I was disturbed by the fact that she said yes to that life. And I think it was just interesting to me that depending on which character you either follow closely or identify with, it definitely does change how you're going to perceive that episode.
Yeah. Hey, we also got an email from James Hayward who says, hey, Brian and Tom, Brian mentioned The Wire being 4:3 and now available in 16:9. I've worked with and am Facebook friends with David Inslee, one of the DPs and camera operators on The Wire. He says, quote, as a camera operator and DP on The Wire, we were told to frame 4:3 and protect 16:9. We shot Super 35 and future-proofed the framing on the negative. Not an unusual request at the time, and this is what we talked about where, there's a lot of content that is, shot to be able to work in both formats. He says, I'm happy Mr. Simon oversaw the remastering. And later he adds, headroom is constant in common top. I don't know what that means. Sides get wider when you cut the 4:3 and out of the 16:9. I think we shot the 3 perf the last 2 seasons always a compromise somewhere. He says, FYI, 3 perf means the height of each frame is 3 perforations tall instead of the normal 4. It's used as a cost-saving measure to use less film when shooting a widescreen image. Thank you so much, James. Appreciate the inside sauce on that.
That's very cool. The Wire is still my favorite series of all time.
Yeah, well, and it's weird because if you look online, if you type in David Simon, The Wire HD, you'll see some quotes that he gave that indicates that he's not sure that it'll work out in 16:9. He doesn't. He basically indicates that part of the thing that people respond to is the intimacy of The Wire, and he says that part of the reason that you feel that is because of the tight 4:3 framing of everything.
Huh?
Yeah. Nowhere to run. Also, James Hayward could be the daughter of James Hurley and Donna Hayward from Twin Peaks.
I believe it. Makes sense.
Except they're fictional characters, and I think this person is real.
No, he's definitely real.
That's the only problem.
Yeah. Well, I think that does it for us, eh, Brian?
Yeah, man. Again, I want to thank everybody who sent in amazing letters. You guys are really responding, making it very difficult. If you didn't get a response from me this week, it means that I read your letter and I put it in the doc and we just ran out of time.
But thanks, Amber Mack, for joining us. Great having you on the show. And I know you've got a couple projects to tell folks about that you're launching.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for having me. First of all, a couple of things. I just did a show with AOL called Tech Download, which is available online on AOL, but will be on Delta Airlines starting in the new year. Also just launched a show called 15 Sec Tech, and that's on Instagram. It's a daily show, 15 seconds a day. So if you have a short attention span like I do, then you will like that show. Plus a lot of other things going on. You can follow me online on Twitter at AmberMac.
You can watch it on your Apple Watch someday. 15sectech.com.
Dude, that's going to be the one. That's going to be what makes a liar out of all you guys. You're going to watch those on your wristwatch.
I don't know.
No, that's really cool. I love the idea of using that medium to its best advantage. And like we were saying on DTNS, 15 seconds is not a long time.
It's short, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's just, I was reading a lot about Instagram and the engagement and the power of Instagram these days and the reach that it has, and just figured it would be a great place to experiment with a new show, all in, of course, the interest of figuring out the future of content. So we've had some fun with it and great feedback as well.
15sectech.com. Thank you, Amber. It was great.
Thanks. Good.
You can find us on the web at cordkillers.com. We're live generally on Mondays at about 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can send us an email, cordkillers@gmail.com, and find us at diamondclub.tv when we're live. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.